Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program, we have Huntley. I had a chance to interview Huntley. He was the season 24 winner of The Voice just this past year. And so he's on quite a ride right now as his music career is taking off after so much work. We talk about the path for him all the way from busking to the big stage on national television and playing set halftime for NFL games and so many other experiences that he's had the opportunity to have because of the show The Voice. And it was just a fun chat. And we'll get into that in just a moment here. We did have last week off from the program due to Thanksgiving and me being out of state. I had a chance to take a little solo trip to Wisconsin, of all places. My buddy Mason lives out there, and we had coordinated. He has season tickets to the Green Bay Packers, and my dog Navy's just chilling, hanging out in my bed here. So Navy, you doing all right over there? Okay, lay down. And so we coordinated because the 49ers were playing the Packers in Green Bay, and I haven't even seen the 49ers play Levi Stadium in Santa Clara here in the Bay Area yet. But when I was invited to the game, I said, sure, why not? Let's do it. And I'm glad I did. It was a fun couple of days. I did leave my kids behind and with their mom, and so I missed them a decent amount while I was gone. It's a long time for me to be without them. It was like about 5 days or so, and I see them pretty regularly. So I didn't get I had that piece that was missing, but I took the trip. Flights were on time, which was great, and landed early in several cases. I had 2 flights on the way to Milwaukee, excuse me, and then 3 flights coming home. And I wouldn't have done the 3-flight all day thing, except one of the flights stopped in Seattle and had a 3.5-hour layover, and that gave me a chance to have dinner with my buddy Jens. So that was fun, but I allowed some extra time for hanging out in Milwaukee and Green Bay area with Mason. We drove around a bunch, and he was so cool to drive 2 hours to the Milwaukee airport to pick me up, 2 hours back, and then do the same thing to drop me off as well again. So cool, and just hospitable of him and his wife, Frankie, to have me in their home and let me stay in their guest room. It was very comfortable. I love the pitch black of the room. It helped me sleep in later than I usually do, which is a rare treat on a vacation. And we went to a lot of bars and dive bars and drank a decent amount, not too much, but enough to enjoy, and talk to locals and I wore some 49ers gear around even in the day before or two before the game, and the locals were all kind. They asked if I was from around there and if I was going to the game, and that's typically where the conversation ended. But they were kind just the same. And so I had a good time away. It was great to get a little break from work and all the busyness with that. And could just get away. It wasn't too cold, which is great. It was probably about 40 degrees or just slightly warmer. And so the last time I went to Green Bay for a Packers game was 5 years ago, and it was in December, I believe. And the temperature at the game was like 7 to 9 degrees. And that was freaking cold, and not something that I'm used to as a California boy. Don't touch those temperatures, but I can do 40. And so we tailgated before the game in Mason's truck. He brought his small, probably 20-inch TV, and airplayed the Bears game. I think it was Bears Vikings. So we watched part of that before the Packers game, and had a couple beers and brats, and then walked around, saw a bunch of live music. I'll tell you, I peed more in Wisconsin than I have probably in the past year in the state of California. I just needed to pee every 7 minutes. The beer was flowing right through me, and so was so I was peeing all the time, and I had to wait in lines, and sometimes it was there were people in front, and there was a Taylor Swift cover that was going on a stage nearby, and they were playing "Shake It Off," and I was in line saying like jokingly telling the other people in front to shake it off because I had to go. But really fun trip, and I enjoyed it. And I had a couple of solo hunts around the trip as well. Where I got to get out and didn't have great hunts overall. I mean, the birds in the area. I don't know. It just didn't cooperate. Didn't work out well for me. But I am looking forward to some more hunts coming up and really getting this duck season into gear because it started off very slow, I will say. But nonetheless, good times and ready to get back in the grind of everything. I mean, we're in December now, so the holidays are right around the corner, and that means I need to start spending money on my kids like nobody's business. So that there's things under the tree and things from Santa and all of these things. And on top of that, my son is into the Elf on the Shelf, and last year it was just an effort to make sure I moved it, or the elf moved. I'm sorry, not I moved it. The elf, moved every night after my son went to bed. And this year, apparently, he has to have some interesting things. He has to write my son notes or leave, last night he left advent calendars for my son and his sister, and was on, writing my mallard, the taxidermy mallard that's on the wall in my family room. And I got to get creative apparently. So fun times with that. And yeah, so lots of interesting stuff going on. I've been saying it for a while, but the podcast might be a lot slower during the next 2 months or so as I'm focusing on duck hunting and have a lot of other obligations. And concerts are pretty slow right now. So it's kind of a good time for me to take it a little bit slower. But I've gotten some more episodes in this season than I had anticipated. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's get into the Huntley interview. This was a fun one, and he was just on super dad mode at the same time as the interview. He mentions how he considered doing the interview in his car, so there wasn't any distractions. But I told him, look, here, be a dad. Totally cool. His kid was all around though, and wanted attention, and Huntley just soaks it up. I mean, I totally get it because he was gone for like 6 months doing the voice and probably didn't envision having to be away from his kid for that long, but really making up for it now and prioritizing that, and while making sure he focuses on his career as well. So we're going to go ahead and bring on Huntley to the program. Hey, Huntley, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How's your?
Sorry about the little delay there. My phone was having issues. The audio is not coming out of my phone, so I think I have to get that fixed. But I got you up on my computer, and I guess I had to update Zoom, so my apologies.
Oh, you're all good. I know. I've been there. I've been like, okay, go quicker, just get in.
Well,
you know.
I'm a mess up in a lot of places, but I hate being late.
I'm the same way. It's just like I can't be late, and whether it's traffic or a meeting or something, you just I don't know. I have this sense of urgency or this respect for time. I don't know, but it also kind of riles you up a little bit too. It's okay to be a couple minutes late once in a while, as long as it's not
Yeah.
disrespectfully late, right? So
Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, if you're gonna be late, then
yeah.
I feel like you got to be like really late, so it like causes like some kind of like just a better experience, right? Nah, but I'm still a dad through all this stuff. So like, I have know, I never wanted to be an iPad dad, but I thank God for the iPad every time things like this happen.
Oh my gosh, I tell you, yeah, I'm the same way. I remember taking my kids probably when they were about your age, your kids' ages, on a flight, and we were in the Seattle airport, like, and had to be there for like 3 hours because the flight was delayed. And I'm like, no, I'm not caving into the iPad. I'm not doing it. And I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? This is ridiculous. Like, I need to loosen up a little bit, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah. Well, we're here now, and we're good. So I appreciate you taking the time and chatting. And I'm interested in your story, in kind of how we got to where we are. Obviously, this past year, I want to cover a lot of, but I like to start at the beginning too. So tell me a little bit about like what music was on in your household as a kid. What were your parents listening to? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't really come from a crazy musical, talented family. My dad was a pretty good karaoke singer, but he kind of left early on in my life. And I would say that, my mom's genre of music that she like was, I don't know, I would say she had very tasteful music choices, and I think no matter like how hard I tried it, even when I was a kid and I would tell her to turn the songs off, I love those songs to this day. She listened to Cher, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, some Shania Twain, some CCR, some Alabama, Creed, all the way. So it was awesome. I got to do the Creed song on The Voice because I remember me and my mom used to drive in her beat up red Jeep Wrangler, lipstick red Jeep Wrangler, and we would just blare Creed singing out. But I would say, even though my mom, hey, oh, see, hold on one second, I gotta help her open a fruit snack real quick.
Got to get the snacks oven. The dad job never ends, by the way. Just it never turns off.
Well, that's the whole big thing with me, man, is that I know I'm doing all these cool things, and I think what's kept me grounded and just humbled is that like I do have kids, and they do not care what is going on. I'll tell you that. But
Yeah.
I'm super blessed to have a good support system. I'm not perfect by any means. I lose my patience just like any other parent. But I feel like even though like we're getting back to what we were talking about, besides opening fruit snacks, my mother, even though I wouldn't say anyone would really enjoy her singing, but her taste in music and her influence and just not caring who sees her sing. Like my mom just would sing like no one was watching, and you know, it definitely has to be somewhere in the gene pool because just watching my kids, I wasn't really in an element where there was a lot of instruments around, but there's a drum set here, a guitar over there, a bass over there. And my kids like all the whistles and flutes, so it's a very musical house, where I'm at, and I feel like it's a beautiful thing because we all I think grow as parents to be that safe spot that we wanted when we were kids, and I think that growing up, music was definitely the spot where I felt the safest. So I hope my kids can kind of be drawn to that too. But
Yeah.
but that's basically it, man. I've been singing since I was I could walk, and I always loved making up my own songs. And basically, when I was 14, I moved from Florida to Virginia, and it was a culture shock. It was a good culture shock now, but in the beginning, it was showing up in Allen Iverson gear and FUBU with data spree wells on your shoes. To Spotsylvania, Virginia, in the middle of nowhere, with people with fish hooks in their hats, and just a total different culture change. It was a really cool moment. I'm glad that I had music to lean on in those, times where I just felt so lost.
Yeah. And even talk about when you were a kid, like you were 4 years old and impersonating Elvis. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, no one really knows. I honestly remember it like verbatim. Like I was set on. I would say some weird stuff like not that I think anything like I'm even weird saying it, but we know how kids say the darndest things. I would say it was the reincarnation of Elvis, and I wanted to live in Chicago. For some reason, when I was 3, those were the two things I would say. But I think I am a way better human being than Elvis Presley. So I wouldn't try to say that I was that guy. But,
Right.
just as a kid, I think I was really drawn to the showmanship, from him, Michael Jackson, Joe Cocker, Steven Tyler. And, I had a really awesome blessing on singing a Joe Cocker song on the show.
Yeah, with a lot of hope for my friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the moments as a kid where, like, growing up, as much as I try to impersonate Elvis, I think the one thing that actually drew me to music to want to do it and like fall in love with the song, the very first one, I would say was probably when I saw the opening scene to The Wonder Years,
The Wonder Years, yes.
and like as soon as I just remember as a kid just being like, and Freddie Savage and all them. It was just the whole video was just like just a pure genuine vibe. And I just remember that voice. And then I was always drawn to that song, and voices like Mongo Jerry, like in the summertime when the weather is hot. Like I've always loved, or like Dr. John, like all those just Cajun style voices. And I'm from the dirty South too, down in Florida. Even though I would say my heart lays here in Virginia, I'm just falling in love with this place. But I'm definitely I think that flavor, that whole little panhandle down in Florida, Southern rock, and I know music is very lost in translation right now, because as it should be. I mean, I was born in 1990. I mean, Free Fallin' came out, but also Tupac came out with like, and Biggie were out, like they were, so it's you know 34 years later, after that, you would have to feel everyone's influence from so many different types of music. It's hard to brand yourself. You know,
Yeah.
people like Post Malone and MGK coming out with country albums shouldn't really surprise people, even though you never probably would have guessed it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But, um, uh, you know, I think that, um, uh, you know, coming out with my records and everything, just staying true to, like I said, like those influences that my mother gave me, like the Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Alabama, Leonard Skinner, like that Southern rock vibe, but with also a story to tell, kind of like Creed. So it's just a lot. It's just I feel like I don't ever try to play for audiences. I try to tell my story and experience, and luckily America liked my weird self. So
It did. Did you? So I want to go back to the Wonder Years for a minute, just because I'm glad you pointed out the Wonder Years connection with that. I mean, obviously it's a famous song in its own right, but
also the only song that I got to pick on the show.
oh, it is. Okay. Okay. That's so cool. And it was such a great, I mean, version that you did of it. I mean, it was so cool in the round with all the other singers and everything. I was showing my son your version of it this morning because I'm taking him through. So I'm a super nerd here, but I was, I was a big fan of the Wonder Years as a kid, and ran a Wonder Years fan club, and all that. And I've been to the Wonder Years house a handful of times and
Let's go.
taking my kids there, and like it's just, and been there with my best friend, and like just outside the house, because it's a part of my youth a little bit, and so that song it hits right, and it's impactful, and it's so cool to be able to share your version of it, and as I'm going through and showing my son the show sequentially now, kind of bringing it into his world a little bit. We watch it together,
And there needs to be some type of reboot, right? I mean, they
yeah.
did the 70s show,
They,
which
they
is
well,
a big cop of the Wonder Years. The 70s show was just a way more raunchier version of Wonder Years.
they did a reboot of the Wonder Years a couple years ago,
Oh,
on ABC, yeah, with an African American family actually, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, I think it had 2 seasons. I watched it like at least a season of it. I don't think, but coming from that being such a part of my, I don't know, I just the
Wow,
original.
I bet the music in that. I bet the music in that one was great.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good music. It doesn't feel as timeless as the original, but
Yeah, I think that's how it always goes, right?
yeah, I know. I think Fred Savage was involved with it as a producer or something, but
Yeah,
it does exist if you can go out there and check it out.
yeah, I'll check it out, man.
Yeah, but that's really cool. And so your kids, I mean, tell me kind of about them. I mean, because I think I saw your son, Michael, like is he playing guitar? Like, are you raising him? Like, yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. I'm self-taught myself. With I would say first of all, I'm gonna pause because I would say self-taught in this generation, which is like I've put my own taste of music with lessons from like YouTubers like Marty Schwartz. I don't know if you know him. I'm gonna give him a shout out real quick
Okay.
because he literally is. Marty Schwartz is like a guy on YouTube who like literally has probably taught the whole generation of musicians that have come like that couldn't afford guitar teachers. So even
Yeah.
though I wouldn't say that I've learned everything from him. I think that the building blocks from like people like him, like teachers, but just allowing myself to kind of just learn through my own feeling and flow. And luckily, I've always have had rhythm and flow and just have loved music. And I just see my kids, they have the same thing, just rhythm, and I let them do whatever they want. They're just writing their own songs, they're just playing music. I feel like when with my kids, they're just like their ADHD father, and if you try to teach them, or especially if it's me, if I try to teach them or show them something, it's gonna not be as fun. So I just let them have fun, and my son, he's my both of my kids love and adore me, but my son is my biggest fan, and he knows all the songs that I did on the like he knows all the melody, singing with it like verbatim, and it's just going to be an amazing thing to watch my kid. And my daughter Stella, she drums on these drums probably more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I kind of just I kind of just let them free fly and just love what they're doing.
yeah. You performed in high school talent shows. Like, did being on the stage from that young, like, did that just feel natural? Did that when you knew kind of where you wanted to go, that you wanted to kind of be this presence, this personality, kind of be in front of people?
For me, it just was, I don't know, I was never, I just was I guess, I don't know. It's just literally, it's always been a blast. It honestly is always been like, sorry, I'm so ADHD. Is that a picture of Dave Grohl behind you?
It is, yes, yes, and
I was
here,
trying to remember. I was trying to remember your question, bro, and I'm like, I saw the picture of you and Dave Grohl, and I'm like, oh damn, no, I'm not gonna be able to remember.
it's not.
Hey,
It's actually a signed picture of me and Dave Grohl that he
let's go.
signed. Like he signed an hour and a half, like an hour and a half after it's taken. Like so, you know, I'm a big
Sorry.
Dave Grohl fan. You're okay. We'll get back to.
He lives in Manassas too, so let's go.
Oh,
He's a
let's do it.
Yeah,
He's
he's a big boy.
awesome.
Sorry. What was your question? I was like thinking of my answer, and then I saw the Dave Grohl picture, and my ADHD was like, "That's Dave Grohl. It has to be."
It is. Yes, he's a legend. Yeah, I was I was asking about like being on the stage, being in front of people, and kind of if you
Oh,
knew, when you knew that was what you were.
well, as you can see, I'm not afraid to be weird.
No, no, you're good, man.
So I've just always you know I grew up without a father, from the age of 8 and on, and I did, I would say that I found a love for performing and entertaining people, no matter if it's through comedy, making them laugh or smile, or just like, singing, I feel like is a form of acting in a way, because it's a way, but it's cool because you get to portray the character who you really are inside on the outside of the music. So when people see it and it's captivating and it's so dramatic and it's like epic, it's because you're being able to like act, but you'll be able to act yourself in those moments. And I've always felt like just I've in those moments, just like on the Voice, when I said that, I was able to, I felt like on the show proved that the world would accept me for me, which I've never really cared, but it's pretty cool that they do. And I just feel like going out there with that chip on my shoulder, it always, yeah, I'm a football player. So it's like when I go out there and the moment is big, it just
Yeah.
feels great. And it doesn't matter win or lose. After what you've accomplished, that adrenaline will always last. You just got to make sure that you're present.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that's great. I mean, tell me about finding. I don't want to use the word voice, but I'm going to use it because we're not even to the show. But finding your voice because you have a unique voice, which is obviously something that that show found in you, and we'll get there. But I want to know kind of about that piece of growing up. You didn't have any singing lessons, so where did that come from? Like, and how did you develop uh, your sound?
I would say that my sound is, I've always been really good at just, whenever I think that age definitely has a factor in no matter like what you're doing as an artist, especially when you look at artists who began at a very young age and they develop that there's just a whole different sense of self. And I feel like, I've had a lot of different opportunities, not a lot of people know, but, I've been on American Idol 3 times and they've only showed like they only showed me clips of getting a golden ticket, getting on the show, and a clip of me getting off and sitting in the audience. And those were defeating moments.
Wow.
I was 20 years old. I was 23 years old, and I was 27 the last time. And I never wanted to do any of those type of shows again. And I'm not trying to throw any shade at anybody, but I would say that one thing I do have to say is that The Voice prepares every single contestant on that show with such a great amount of just like I had to show them gratitude, because it's a very nerve-wracking experience when you're going there, and every single person on a show is literally the best at the genre of music that they do.
Yeah.
I was very blessed that one thing I had the coach who I had, and another thing that you know that I feel like I was at the right place at the right time. But it's very hard. I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of people connected with my voice as much as they connected with my story and just who I am. And I think people root for me right now, and that's a blessing because I haven't felt that my whole life. But I definitely feel like coming in not expecting to win, and I sing a lot of different genres. I
Oh
grew up.
yeah. Heavy metal.
Uh,
You're in heavy metal cover band starting. I mean, that's a complete departure.
Well,
Yeah.
well, that's the whole thing, man. Is I've always been a writer and producer first. I went to Full Sail University, which is a recording engineering school down in Winter Park. So I've always loved to engineer and produce. And then the whole artist thing just was what I knew what I really wanted to do. Every time I tried to get away from it, there was nothing I could do. But when I started playing out, I would fake freestyle songs just and like I never knew any covers except for the last maybe 3 years
Yeah.
of doing it. No, I'm kidding. Maybe it was longer than that. But I've always learned just to take up time. Like I've never been like the biggest whiz head into music. I've always loved to write songs. All the songs that I've released have been 100% written by me, and produced. And I have an amazing engineer and Jake Vicious from Vault Studios, who me and him work like clockwork. It's insane. But I think that just developing that, the Huntley sound I could put on any type of track. I feel like no matter if I'm singing on country, rock, rap, blues, they didn't even really know how to brand me on the show. And I think that was my issue coming up on American Idol is that, I even though, I love the Black Crows, I've never sang that song in my life. And, I was able to connect to it because, I lost a dear, close friend of mine at an early age from a drug overdose. And
Oh man.
so this song to me, they didn't really air that even on, the story of having my daughter pick my coach, I think outweighed everything else. So I think they were like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good point, which, it just, it kind of just shows that every song coming in, I felt like I had an advantage because I was learning every song and connecting to it. And, no matter if I was singing, I mean, very different, sectors of music, if you really think about it, from, the Black Crows, She Talks to Angels to Darius Rucker's Hold My Hand, which I've never even heard that song. And like, that was a crazy one to learn. And, Bon Jovi, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually put that on my list, but that was a joke. And I was sitting with Jackie Rohr and Bias, who were like two of the contestants on the show. And literally, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put this on here. That's funny. And they picked it. And I was like, no, it's because it's a very scary song. It's like,
Yeah.
it's covering a Freddie Mercury song. It's like, you have to sound like doing the Joe Cocker song. Like I'd be way more comfortable covering that. But a Bon Jovi song, it's like, it goes from it's cool when he does it to corny as hell if someone else does it. So
Right. Yeah.
I
There's a
was
fine line.
yes, and then Niall through these these what did he call it? I forget what he said, like a
Mm.
wrench in a spot. I forget what he said. He said some weird Irish term, but he basically threw me like, a ball out of left field and gave me Daylight, which was actually my daughter's favorite song at the time.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and then he gave me Another Love, which was a pop song. So I feel like it was it they were throwing me these pop songs, these rock songs. I finished with, Creed Higher, which was an amazing experience just because even though I feel like my voice was so incredibly tired that night, I felt like I had given it my all, literally.
Yeah.
Even to the point to where I did a Barbie routine at the very end of the season with friend. Yeah, it was. It's been a weird year.
Yeah, yeah, and this took up like 6 months of your time, right? And so, tell me
Yeah.
about the mental piece of just like as you're going through. I mean, were you completely optimistic of like, okay, yeah, this is we're moving forward, we got this, we're moving in a good direction? Did you beat yourself up at all about it and be like, okay, no, there's no way this is gonna pan out?
I beat myself up a lot. I was going through a really hard relationship at the time. That I can imagine like anybody going through, someone going on the show could go through. But it was definitely trying. And then also, I've never been away from my kid 2 weeks, let alone a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months. Come back, leave 4 months, 5 months. My son was 2 years old by the time I got back. He was a completely different kid speaking sentences. Yes, you can have a donut. Not the chocolate one though, because that's for Stella. Okay. All right. Thank you. But like I came back, and he's talking full sentence. Which what'd you say? Don't pick the chocolate one because that's Stella's. Okay.
Chocolate one's the best.
Here, bring me the donuts real fast. Okay. Sorry, brother. I apologize.
I am a dad. I get it. Like you're good. This is
Yeah,
chill.
I thought this was better. It was either this or the car, and I felt like the car might have been
Yeah,
too loud.
this is perfect. We're good. Yeah, I'm not tripping.
Okay. Where's this one? The other one's for Stella because she wants. Oh, you want me to cut it apart for you? Whoa, there's stuff inside. Ooh, here you go. All right, sorry about that, but
You're good. You're good. Yeah, we were talking about the being away for so long from these and
yeah,
your kids growing up, and
yeah.
you know,
I think it just took a toll on me, but I was very lucky, and all the people that were there were really amazing souls, for the most part. And I was lucky enough to have friends like Steve, Ephraim, Jackie, Bias, Mara, Nene, Lila, Mac Royals, you know, everybody there, Tanner, like it was like we had a good group of people. And I leaned on a lot of the older men that were there, like Steve and Ephraim and Bias, and Jackie's like my big sister, on the show. But like it was really easy because I was more upset when I left after the blinds because I was like, man, I know this friendship right here is like it's gonna change after everybody leaves, just because everyone gets busy.
yeah.
And it was just a really beautiful. It was the best summer camp I've ever had in my life. So I think if it was a different group of people, it might have felt different. But yeah, I was very blessed to have all those people in my corner, and we all helped each other, and we would sing to each other in the hallways and the stairway and the staircases and everything. So it was a blessing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And so, your daughter picked the judge. I mean, you're proud that she chose the right one, right? Because he. So tell me about what Niall kind of brought to that competition for you, and in terms of championing you.
Yeah, that was a really amazing moment. I had a dream that, my daughter picked my coaches like a few nights before, and I was leaning towards all of them, honestly, all in different directions. And Niall was probably the one that I knew the least of, like producing wise. Like, I didn't know, of course, I knew his career. But I think that, you know, let alone, that moment alone helped me gain momentum in the whole moment because I think everybody just saw genuinely like my family and us connect and the way that Niall walked up and the way he was so sweet with my daughter and he's a very sweet soul himself. But I felt like one of the biggest things, not just him picking two of the most popular songs that I really felt gave me an edge to some of the other voters.
Yeah.
I think that it was him just making me feel comfortable coming in there and bringing my ideas to the table. He always cared. He cared. I felt like he cared the most, like out of any of the other coaches. He would just email us and stay connected with us, and especially with his busy schedule, it's insane. So,
Yeah. That's
and,
so cool.
and even though it's I'm so focused right now what I'm doing, and I know I mean, God, he just lost a really close friend of his, and so I've just been praying for him. But I try just to give the guy his space, and like try not to like our friendship is what it is, but also like it was a TV show. You know what I mean, man? It's
Yeah.
like I'm 34 years old and I have a family to take care of, and he has this whole thing. So it's very mutual, and we stay in contact, but it's not like a lot of people ask if we're doing shows together and we're doing stuff like that. But, I just have to respect that, how could I even try to think to ask something of the guy like that that's traveling like 8 different countries in 3 days or something, like he's the hardest working guy in the business right now for sure.
Yeah. I read somewhere you're pretty proud you got like Gwen gave you a hug at the end of the the ceremony, which
Yeah.
is super
Oh
cool.
yeah. I mean, she's probably one of my, like I said, I grew up really big into I wouldn't say so ska, but the reggae ska esque, with Revolution and Sublime,
Yeah.
and of course No Doubt. But like I've always been drawn to that music, and it was just really cool for her. If I would have been on her team, I think I would have definitely pulled out some of the more reggae songs. I think she would have me do some Sublime for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was such a big No Doubt fan growing up and went to a bunch of shows and I saw them open for U2 in 2001 and I was like two people back and she pointed me out of the crowd and sang part of Simple Kind of Life, the part where you'd be a good dad, and I still remember that. And, so
Yeah.
never you know yeah, that would
She is a sweetheart. I mean, at the end of the season, like literally, like I'm sitting here just kind of in shock, and then I'm like being hugged, and like the film's going off, and I'm not even being hugged by Niall. It's Gwen Stefani. Like who would have told me in the beginning of that year that I would have ended the year hugging Gwen Stefani? That would have been, great. But she honestly just felt like such a good person every interaction. Like I could, I think that's why her and Blake connected because they're just two people where you're just drawn to them. I've never met Blake
yeah.
personally, but like, you just want to be their friends. Like, they're just genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're a football player, and so I know some highlights for you. You got to sing the national anthem a couple of times. You went to the Super Bowl, right? Like, so tell me about going to the Super Bowl. What was that experience like?
It was an amazing experience. I think that whole weekend in Las Vegas was just, really great. I got to meet a bunch of my favorite football players when I went to the Madden EA Sports event, as well as, I got to go to a lot of the MGM casino events, just seeing like, Tom Brady sitting over in the corner was really cool. And just, it was an opportunity just to kind of see like, how the industry is run. And, it's definitely, it's definitely I don't know. I would say that I definitely feel like I stand out like a sore thumb, but everybody does, so it helps out a little bit.
Yeah,
But I also was there to play a Sober Bowl event, which is a Sober Bowl. Who I was actually playing with the bassist Chris from Five Finger Death Punch, and we played that show together, and it was a really cool sober event for people that like struggle from addiction issues to kind of gather, that don't feel like they can go to the game.
yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. You got to
I
do that.
also
Yeah,
cool experiences. I had my first fanboy moment. I was in line and Pauly Shore was standing there out of nowhere, and I screamed. And it was pretty embarrassing, man. Like I literally was like, "Oh my god!" And he was like, he looked at me really freaked out, and he looked honestly scared. And I was like, "I'm so sorry, man." I was like, "I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you." I mean, because people like him and Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
um, like saved my life, man. I mean, like literally, I didn't have dads. Unfortunately, my dads were Adam Sandler, Pauly Shore, you know, you know, a bunch of actors that I probably shouldn't name, but that was like, I watched Biodome way too many times on reruns.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually ran into him 2 hours later at like 2 a.m. in the morning in Las Vegas at a pizza joint. And then I like walked up to him and apologized to him, and he was like, "No, man, you're fine." And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm all new to this whole celebrity famous thing, dude." I was like, "But you like literally as a kid like saved my childhood." And then he asked me to sing for him, and he put me on a story, and he actually followed me a month ago on Instagram. Let's go.
Look at that. Look at that. It's like those milestones. I know those points are like so cool. You're like, how do I get into this? Like, how did this happen? Sort of thing, right? But then, I mean, it happened because of your work, I think, and your the efforts you put in from busking on the streets, to all the way to The Voice, and and now beyond, right? Like, I mean, you're not slowing down. You're not quitting. So
They say there's more stupid millionaires than not. So I think that's the whole thing. Maybe I'm just not all. Maybe I'm just a little stupid. You kind of have to go in this thing with. I was almost a substitute teacher. I had just filed all the paperwork to finish.
That's how it's stuck up there.
Oh, it's stuck.
That hole
Oh my goodness.
on my tent.
Thanks, man. That's awesome, buddy. For me, even though like I'm doing all this amazing things, like I just played a jail yard with Jelly Roll, which was
Jelly Roll. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
that was a crazy experience. While I'm walking on a jail yard with Jelly Roll, I get a call that my daughter is doing flag football, and they need a coach for a team. So then I became a coach for a flag football team.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing all these things in the same walk, and it is difficult and it's trying, and it like I said, I am not perfect, and I lose my patience, and I tell my kids to go to their room and go in timeout. This is far from a cookie cutter happy. It gets hard, but this is an amazing experience that I've been on, and like let alone if it's with Jelly Roll, playing a cool show and just meeting the celebrities that I've adored like Pauly Shore, or coming back home with my kids, and my son just showed me these videos on The Voice and how proud he is of me. And it's just like I just want my kids to be able to know that they can follow their dreams, let alone anybody else out there that wants to try to accomplish something. Like it's not ever going to come easy. It might come easy. I'm definitely glad this happened when I'm 34 and not 24.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, don't do that, please. I think it's on the patience that he's had for the day.
Yeah.
Can you go in the other room, please?
That's awesome. And so we need to talk about your solo music just a little bit as well. Skyline Drive is your new single. I really like the sax solo in it. The video is a lot of fun that you put together for it as well. It's a love song to Virginia. Tell me about kind of writing the song and how it came about.
Yeah, I think that. Hey, hold on one second. I apologize. Hey, Michael. Hey, Michael, buddy, you can't do that right now, okay? You can't do that right now, okay? You can't do the slingshot either. Just wait, or I'm gonna take that away. Yes, thank you. So, yes, you can't do that, or I'm gonna take it away from you. Please stop. Or we'll go do it in that room. Welcome to Parenthood with Huntley.
Enjoy those moments while they're young. I'll tell you. So my daughter's in high school. She's a freshman in high school, and things change completely when you get to that point too. It's like yeah, it's a ride. So
that poor plastic cup though, just no, I'm just kidding. But I just keep rolling with the punches. What are you gonna do?
yeah,
But for me, I just thought it was really important that I just wrote a song that, Tell Me When It's Over, which was a song that I wrote while I was in the hotel room right after winning. It was a really kind of, I wouldn't say dark place in my life, but just more of like looking behind the curtain and seeing how everything really is. And like, I was lucky enough to fall in the hands of, Edward Crowe, which he's amazing management. And my whole team, the support system is just great. And it's been a blessing. And just after I wrote that song, the next song I wanted to write, I kind of wanted to write something a little more uplifting that kind of told my love story for Virginia. My Blue Ridge baby. It's like, I moved from Florida, all the beaches and sand and all that, hot weather. And then, moving here when I was 14, I fallen in love, and I'm just coming back. I leave, but I always come back. And I think that this will always be my home.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Are you? I mean, this is a question you've probably been asked 100 times, but I mean, are you building towards a full length album? Are you continuing to write? What does that process look like?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a lot of songs that I already have that are written. It's just putting them down, on wax, or just getting them down. But I think that right now I'm just gonna be writing these singles and just kind of just because I think for me that's getting the music out to people quicker.
Yeah,
It's just giving an opportunity to kind of show different sides of myself. And I feel like I'm a little old school, so if I was going to do an album, I'd want to tell a whole story through the album. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I feel like an album is something that I would kind of do, later on. Not later. I mean, I'm 34, so not too later on in my career. But I would say that when I want to take time to tell a story, and you know kind of make it more of like a developed thing rather than just a bunch of random songs on an album.
right. Yeah. Now that you on the other side of the voice, like, do you have any pressure from the label to like get things out at a certain cadence? Like, what is?
Well, I was lucky enough to where I was birthed by a Jersey mom, and honestly, brother, no hard feelings or anything. The Voice are amazing people, and I still have great close connections with them. But I actually asked to leave Republic Records pretty early on. I just saw it as an opportunity to not be severed, just creatively, and I just wanted to have all control. But there was no bad blood or anything like that. It's just business. But I am a free man.
That's great. That's great. That's great because I mean, you got the experience, you got the exposure, you built an audience through this channel, but you're not tied to anything. Also, and getting to do it on your terms, and you know, write songs, put them out in between, opening fruit snacks and and taking care of kids, right? So
Yeah, 100%. Hey, can you get those fruit snacks under the couch that you just threw, please? What? Oh, okay. Well, then stop throwing all. He just took all of them out and started throwing.
they're all over.
Thanks, bud.
Oh. Yeah, you're good. And I'll let you go be a dad here in a sec. I want to wind down with just a couple quick
You're
questions.
fine. My apologies too, man.
No.
I got to do what I got to do.
Absolutely. I'm not, no apology necessary at all, dude. It's totally chill. Yeah. So I'm curious. I mean, so obviously you have the kids, so they pretty well tie you to your home. I mean, like, do you see a tour in the future? What does that look like?
Oh yeah, like I said, I do have a good support system here. Um, but like I also feel like, it when the tour comes, I'll be able to navigate what that means and the amount of time. Like that's why I just take every time that I do have with my kids, what I have with my kids right now, um,
Yeah.
as he's destroying the room right there. Um, uh, it's time that you can't get back. But I've been waiting, this whole time, for this opportunity, and I think that
You got clocked by a bag of fruit snacks.
yeah, we got plenty on lock.
There's more where that came from, huh?
Yeah,
You got,
he's
you got the slingshot still, right? So you can
Dennis the Menace.
do some damage over here.
Yes. Sorry, buddy. Between the Dave Grohl picture and my kid, you're like, this guy is a loon.
No, you're totally great. This is awesome. I love it.
Oh, you didn't get that. Sorry, I thought you guys.
Oh my gosh, it's great.
Oh, jeez.
It's gonna come back. Oh, hi, Michael.
He likes to fight.
Yeah,
All right.
I can tell.
All right, buddy. Well, it was nice talking to you, man. I think
It was great.
control.
It was great. Yeah, I'll let you go be a dad.
Thanks, man. Nice meeting you, brother.
Nice meeting you too, Huntley.
I'm gonna go get this kid.
Let's go do it. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
Man, God bless you, man, and I appreciate you taking the time. Sorry for the craziness. Hey, watch me, please.
You're cool, and good luck in the future, and you know, ever tour, and as you put music out and everything, it's totally awesome. Keep up the good work. Say it again.
I hope to talk again, my friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. You come out to the Bay Area, and I'll come check you out. Okay.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you, bro.
That was my interview with Huntley here on Concert Pipeline, and that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. I have a couple of stories to wind out the program today. The first is that there is a music festival called Sick New World that was planned for 2025. It was canceled with organizers citing unforeseen circumstances. It was a festival in Las Vegas, and it was due to feature Metallica, Linkin Park, and more. Evanescence, Queens of the Stone Age, AFI, Machine Head. Tons of bands were on par to play this festival, and it was a one-day event. After rumors about the festival began to swirl, organizers confirmed it would not go ahead. They said, "It's with great disappointment that we announced that Sick New World will no longer take place in Las Vegas on April 12th, 2025. Despite our best efforts, we've encountered unforeseen circumstances that we're unable to overcome for next year's show. We extend our heartfelt thanks to all the dedicated Sick New World fans that plan to join us for another cultural celebration of hard rock, goth, alternative, and heavy music. Stay tuned for further and future information regarding Sick New World." So, yeah, it's too bad because it seemed like what would have been a pretty cool festival. Speaking of Linkin Park, their comeback is on, and they found their way back to #1 in America. This is what Forbes says. So, I mean, Linkin Park, of course, after Chester's passing, was done for a while. There needed to be that space, but they're one of the biggest rock bands in the world, and so for those songs that people love and have meant so much to people to just fade away into nothingness. I mean, didn't make a lot of sense, I guess. So then people assumed that the rockers didn't want to push forward, and understood it as well. They took time to heal, grieve, and pursue other projects. They have their first new album in 7 years from zero. I was actually listening to it last week in Wisconsin with my buddy Mason, and it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know. It'll take some more listens to really get into it, I think. But I think it it opened at #1 in the U.S. on a bunch of the charts, and was one of the most highly anticipated projects of 2024. Longtime fans rushing out to stream the album. It hit the top of the rock and alternative albums, top rock albums, top alternative albums, and the top hard rock albums charts this week. And it conquered the vinyl albums list, which is not focused on one style, but rather just any title available on wax. And I got a tour coming also, I mean, which is I think many of the shows have sold out. Pretty crazy, but they're doing really well with their new lead singer. All right. Speaking of kind of reunions of sorts, let's talk about Oasis a little bit more. We talk about Oasis often as they're gearing back up and getting back together. Noel Gallagher says the Oasis reunion shows won't be as raucous as back in the day. There won't be any fallouts. There won't be any fighting. They revealed their highly awaited return to the stage earlier this year, announcing a string of huge stadium gigs in the UK, Ireland. Of course, North America has some dates as well, South America, Australia, South Korea, and Japan. And no one was asked about the shows while attending the Zoila Legends exhibition at the National Portrait Gallery in London on Thursday, whether he believed he and Liam would behave as wildly as they did in their 90s heyday. And he said they're on the wrong side of 50 now, so they're too old to do that. We're too old to give a shit now, so there won't be any fallouts. There won't be any fighting. It's a lap of honor for the band, and they ruled out a headline performance at Glastonbury 2025 and said they won't be appearing at any other festival next summer. They shut down rumors of a return to Nebworth in 2026. Also, Cage the Elephant is serving as opener on the North American leg. So Liam recently went back on his claims that the band are currently recording a new album, telling fans it was a laugh. He was teasing a potential new EP in September, though, and he had told a fan that it was already finished when a fan asked him. And he said, "It's in the bag, mate. Fuck in the air." And so he'd been talking about this album for a while, and then apparently went back on it. So they're saying there's no Oasis album in the making. I was fucking joking, remembering them, and the reason being because everyone is a little uptight these days. I'm sorry if I've upset anyone, but fuck me, it was a laugh. People take this shit seriously, dude. Like, this is the biggest reunion that I can remember in a long time. This is one that I didn't think was ever going to happen, and here it is happening. And I would love to be a fly on the wall at the show. I don't know. It just feels like a bit much, though. I mean, I didn't get tickets, so I'm sure they're outrageously priced. I can't afford that, and going down to LA and all that. But I'll live with the memory of seeing them in 2006, and before they disbanded. So, all right, My Chemical Romance. Bob Breyer, the former drummer of My Chemical Romance, has died at age 44. He was found dead in his home in Tennessee on Tuesday, the 26th. After last being seen alive on November 4th per TMZ. So he wasn't seen alive for 22 days. And then he's found dead. The cause of his death is not immediately known, but authorities have ruled out foul play with his possessions, including musical equipment and weapons, untouched. He was their longest tenured drummer, performing with the band from 2004 until his departure in 2010. So I had to go back and do some math and digging on dates, but because I interviewed My Chemical Romance in 2005 at Warped Tour backstage, and so he was in that interview. I have a picture somewhere with me and the band from backstage. He signed my Concert Pipeline banner, I'm sure. So young to be for him to have died, but just completely sad, and especially because he wasn't seen for 22 days, so he didn't have any contact with his family and friends. I mean, it feels so sad. He was originally working as a sound engineer for The Used and Thrice, and then struck up a friendship with My Chemical Romance during their tour in 2004, and then shortly after that, he became their drummer, replacing their previous drummer. So sad day for Bob. Thoughts go out to his family and friends. Okay. Lemmy, speaking of rockers that are no longer with us, Lemmy's ashes are going on display at Stringfellows Strip Club in London. He loved the rock and roll spirit, and he certainly loved the view. It's just one of the many places his ashes have gone on permanent display. So I guess they're just spreading his ashes around all the places that he loved. He's considered one of the most influential figures in music history, metal history. He died in December 2015 at the age of 70, shortly after learning he had been diagnosed with cancer. Now, nearly 9 years on, his ashes continue to make headlines. Some of his ashes are going on permanent display in Stringfellows Strip Club in the UK capital city. I wonder how they display ashes. I don't understand that. I understand an urn, but you're not really displaying anything with the urn unless it's see-through. They're going to be arriving December 18th and set to be displayed in urn shaped like the singer. The urn is shaped like the singer and bassist trademark cavalry hat. Oh, okay, not shaped like him, shaped like his hat. There's going to be a ceremony to celebrate the permanent fixture arriving in the venue, and it's going to be attended by Lemmy's bandmate guitarist Phil Campbell. Stringfellow's always held a special place in Lemmy's heart. He loved the rock and roll spirit Peter brought to the club. He loved the relaxed environment. He certainly loved the view, said Motorhead manager Todd Singerman. I know he's relieved he can get back to enjoying one of his favorite places on the planet. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Go Lemmy. All right, that's our fun for today. Like I said, I don't have anything lined up for podcast next week at this point, so we might have a week or more off. But go back and listen to some of the old ones. Check out some of the old episodes of Concert Pipeline. Subscribe to the program so you know when new episodes are coming. Tell a friend, even. It's a lot of fun to get to do this, and I appreciate you tuning in. So, for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.